Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, I know it is Wednesday and you probably already went to the comic book store, but you better fill up your gas tank, maybe charge your electric vehicle, because you're going to need to go back on Saturday. That is right. This Saturday is Free Comic Book Day, the greatest comic book day of the calendar year. And we got a lot of free books to talk about. So in this video, I wanted to go over this key collector preview and see if there's actually any interesting spec plays that we may want to know about. But of course, before I get into it, if you guys can like, comment, subscribe, I appreciate it. Helps with the channel doing those things. But there you see it. Free Comic Book Day is an annual promotional event to attract new readers to independent comic book shops by giving away comic books. Featured in this category are the comic books that will be available at participating shops on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. Now, actually, this is a very interesting thing, and I don't say this lightly, but this actually could be the last Free Comic Book Day as we know it. A little bit of an aside to this video, with all the stuff going on with Diamond Distribution, one of the interesting things that they actually own over at Diamond is actually the brand name of Free Comic Book Day. They bought it from the original creator. And depending on how everything shakes out with, the distribution and the acquisition and all of that stuff, who knows what Free Comic Book Day is going to look like in the future. All right, let's take a look at some of the books here. Of course, we have this one right here, Creaky Acres from Penguin Random House, as well as, a Lilo and Stitch comic book. I'm not going to meme on these too hard. I actually think that having a lot of these types of free comic books is probably the most important thing that you can actually have at Free Comic Book Day, because this is the day to bring your kids into the comic book store, give them some of these titles that they're going to be more attracted to. And I think it's actually really good that comic publishers create stuff like that. This is kind of an interesting one. Will Eisner, a comics biography done by Stephen Weiner and Dan Mazur. Excuse me if I got those one wrong, but preview his complete biography. Of course, Will Eisner is an icon in the comic book space. Okay, we got some other ones here, Phineas and Ferb. I think that's a brand name that's pretty popular. Look at this crossover right here. We got Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls. Maybe not one that you guys are interested in, but hey, you never know. The first meeting of Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls could be a huge spec in the future. We got some Judge Dredd right there. We got some Dr. Seuss. This one is kind of an interesting one. The Mighty Nine Origins. This is actually an original story from Critical Role and Black Hammer universes. If you guys happen to know, Critical Role is the big D&D role-playing group that kind of took over the D&D influencer space and have since made Amazon TV shows that was adapted for their role play of D&D, and now they're doing other stuff in the comic book space. This one looks pretty interesting to me. A prelude to a Valiant company-wide crossover, Valiant Zombies Resurrection. Now, I don't know too much about this one, but I like the cover art. I definitely think it's pretty cool. Zombies is always going to be something that people are, interested in. It's a Valiant crossover. It's free, right? It's definitely worth a pickup. That one's probably one that we should keep our eye on. We got Young Jedi Adventures right here. A lot of kid comic books, which I think is, again, like I already said, pretty great. Transformers, worst bot ever. This is definitely something that if I was a kid, I would be super attracted to. That first appearance of Ballpoint, a Decepticon with the ability to transform into a pen. I kind of get it. That would suck. Imagine being able to transform into a jet, and then all of a sudden, the other Decepticons, it's like, are all flying around, and you have to transform into a pen. Like, what's the point of that power? That's like being the mutant who gets the mutant power to blink and change the TV channel. It's like totally worthless. All right, we got some Red 5 comic adventures right here. We got some VR Troopers. I gotta say, guys, I've never been into Power Rangers. Power Rangers, it was like, I was already too old for Power Rangers. So I'm not up on it. So, it doesn't really get me excited. But this, dude, King Arthur, Knights of Justice. Is this King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table? You guys remember that show? What was it? What was the theme song? You remember that one? It was like, they were like a football team, and then they got transported by like Merlin, and they had to like become the Knights of the Round Table. I love that show. This is a hot crossover right here. King Arthur and Princess Guinevere. I'm going to say I might have to actually take a look at that. Canceled by publisher. That's kind of disappointing. Mad Cave, it's kind of interesting. They've gone through some a lot of turnover ever since the Diamond thing. Kind of like putting out indie publisher titles and things like that. I guess this was going to be canceled, but maybe it's still going to be there, available for people to pick up. We got a Minecraft manga right there. I mean, this is definitely a good one to, give out to the kids. I don't know if it's going to have any value, in the secondary market, but, a fun book regardless. A lot of canceled books right here, canceled by publisher. I guess a lot of the Mad Cave stuff was definitely canceled. This one's kind of an interesting one. Godzilla, The New Heroes. 10-page prelude to Godzilla, The New Heroes. Preview of other books shared in the Godzilla universe. Reintroduction of the G-Force. Okay, Godzilla. Decent IP. We got a Dynamite one right here. Gargoyles, Demona. How do we say it? Demona. Origin of Demona. Flash Gordon Adventures, Blood Type. Oh, this one's right up my alley. Okay, here we go. Diablo, Dawn of Hatred. Free comic done by Cullen Bunn. Origin story that takes place following the events of Diablo 4. Now, I actually never played Diablo 4, but I really enjoy the Diablo universe. Or I shouldn't say that I never played it. I did play Diablo 4, but I never beat the game. I actually would be really interested in this one. This would definitely be something that I would pick up and read for myself because I'm into a lot of those properties. Here's a cool one. Conan, Scourge of the Serpent. Got some new Conan. I like this cover art actually right here. This is very, very reminiscent of a Frazetta sort of style of art, which I think is great. I mean, I think if you're doing Conan, you got to do Frazetta. That looks good to me. Prelude story of the title written by Jim Zub with art by Ivan Gill. Shout out to Ivan Gill. I like the work of that cover. Free Comic Book Day Champion, written by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Is this a creator first? This could be an interesting one. This is a first written work of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Could be interesting. Bad Kitty Gets a Job. Preview of the next entry of Bad Kitty. Now, I'm not up on Bad Kitty, but I do know that people like to collect infinity covers. So there you guys have it, an infinity cover. Of course, the infinity cover, if you guys don't know, is the one where it's like, here's the cover, and then they're holding the comic book with them on the cover, which is then holding the comic book with them on the cover, and so on and so on and so on. So you have your infinity cover right there. There's an Infinity Looney Tunes book that's actually a pretty popular one. Speaking of Golden Age ones, the Looney Tunes ones was Golden Age ones. That's what I was thinking about. Here's an Archie book. I've made the joke that, the kids don't get into comic books reading Golden Age Archie. Well, maybe they get into comic books reading, new Archie comic books. We got a Black Mirror adaptation right here. I guess the spec value on this is completely done because the show's already out. Here's kind of your first maybe interesting spec. We got a Marvel Voices. Of course, Marvel Voices has been a brand that they've been doing to, do a lot of diversity and stuff. And here we have the first appearance of a new Ghost Rider. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at some of the details. Who's this written by? Writer Justina Ireland, artist Julian Shaw. So kind of interesting there. New first Ghost Rider. No images to be seen, but there it is. Maybe the Ghost Rider's right there on the cover. I just noticed that. So there you guys have it. First interior appearance and first cover appearance. You never know. You never know if we're going to get Ghost Rider in the MCU. Could be this new first appearance of this new Ghost Rider. It's interesting. It's probably a good time to just give you guys a little reminder. I mean, let's not sleep on the Free Comic Book Day books. I mean, we talked about this book just the other day, Free Comic Book Day from 2007, first appearance of Mr. Negative. Now, most people still wanted the Amazing Spider-Man book, but this was definitely one that got pretty hot, and even recently, 9/8 selling for $175. I mean, it's not to say that, these new books are going to be selling like crazy, but there's always Free Comic Book Day books that have value, or people are interested in them after the fact because, sometimes they have first appearances, like this first new Ghost Rider. So we'll have to see. Maybe it's good. Who knows? Star Wars, of course, is going to be there. And then this is probably, the big book that I think is coming out of this whole one. Amazing Spider-Man Ultimate Universe crossover. The prologue to an Ultimate Universe crossover event. Free Comic Book Day 2025, The Amazing Spider-Man / Ultimate Universe. Now, this is probably just going to be an interesting story that I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to. The Ultimate Universe has been doing exceptionally well. I mean, all the way back when Ultimate Spider-Man came out, people were talking about how they loved that story. They thought it was a return to form. We're definitely celebrating it more than the current Amazing Spider-Man run. I think Ultimate Black Panther has been pretty heralded. I think Ultimate X-Men or Ultimate Wolverine, has been also one that people really like. And I guess they're not going to be doing an Ultimate Universe crossover event. I mean, listen, it's all great. I mean, if it's good, it's good. That's going to be great. But man, are we just in a place where it's now you have this universe going on, you got the mainstream universe going on with their crossover events. You got One World under Doom, with its crossover. And you got the Ultimate Universe with its crossover. And you got the Absolute Universe with it. It's like too many universes. Free Comic Book Day 2025, Fantastic Four / Giant Size X-Men. I think that this is also one that we may want to keep our eyes on. First full appearance of Deadverine and Whirlpool. Cameo in Concert of Champions #1. So there you go. An actual first full appearance of Deadverine and Whirlpool. I mean, like, we already got Deadpool and Wolverine. It feels like if they were going to do a Freaky Friday thing, that would have already happened in that movie. So I don't know if there's too much spec value in all of this. But you also get the first team appearance of the all-new, all-different X-Men and the first appearance of a new mutant. So kind of interesting stuff. I don't know what the whole deal is with this all-new, all-different X-Men. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about this new team. I actually, honestly, haven't been keeping up with the X-Men, so I'm not really sure what's going on in that universe. Maybe you can let me know in the comments. We got a Mega Man here. We got this Kango Yu. Obviously, DC trying to capitalize on the cutesy effect, kind of like Jeff the Land Shark. This is a preview of a graphic novel intended for young readers that focuses on Jumpa, a kangaroo who was first introduced in Sensation Comics #6 that lives on Wonder Woman's home island. All right, here we go. Here's probably a big one. You got DC All In #1, prelude to Superman Unlimited #1. And this is going to be an original story in the Absolute Universe that references a powerful new character. So maybe the first cameo appearance in reference to a new character in the Absolute Universe. I mean, people love in the Absolute Universe right now. But again, I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, the big two, they're just writing themselves into corners, creating multiple crossover events with multiple characters. I mean, I just feel like it's got to be hard for them. I feel bad for them. Hate Fairyland, Once Upon a Time #1. Don't know too much about this one, but a new Image title done by Scotty Young. So probably one that people should keep their eye on. Anytime you have a Scotty Young cover, probably pretty interesting. All right, moving on to another Image book, Energon Universe Special #1, jumping on point with big reveals in the G.I. Joe and Transformers shared universe. There you guys have it, Energon Universe #1, with this guy on the cover. Oh, God, I lost my nerd card. I can't remember this guy's name. Roadblock? What is his name? I'm not going to look it up. You guys tell me. Street Fighter versus rival schools. It's kind of interesting. I haven't seen Street Fighter in a while, but I can imagine some people are going to want a cover like that. Moving on. Now, here's one that is really interesting, and maybe we should keep our eye on this one. Unfortunately, the image is really small, but this is Post Malone's Big Rig. That is right, Post Malone, as in the rapper Post Malone. I believe he is the credited writer of this title right here. But the key factors say, Europe, the Dark Ages, a secret sect of the Knights Templars, prayers are answered when a giant tractor trailer piloted by a priest arrives to drive back the invading hordes from hell. Early reports claim Michael Bay is attached to develop this property into a film. Well, there you guys have it. I mean, Big Rig by Post Malone. You got the rapper connection. You got a first issue. You got Michael Bay. Who knows? With this one, this is like the perfect example of a book that, maybe when the movie is made and the trailer comes out, that random free comic book day that everyone FOMOs into, it could be Big Rig. Could be one of those. This is pretty cool. I've always appreciated The Phantom. The Phantom coming back. Mad Cave begins publishing The Phantom. So not necessarily a key issue, but probably a fun read. They're also going to do Speed Racer right there. Speed Racer is always pretty fun. And then it looks like last but not least, this is definitely one that is worth picking up. Mark Spears' Monsters #0. This is the original story by Mark Spears with a backup story, Kids These Days, by WWE NXT's Ethan Page. So we got some Mark Spears love on Free Comic Book Day. I don't know if you guys heard about Mark Spears made one of his first in-person appearances in at the Alabama Comic Con. And the line was absolutely insane. And this is going to be your chance to check out, Monsters book. I love the little detail, "Be kind, please rewind," right there. Takes us back to, renting VHSs, I mean, even like the horror sticker right there with a little bit of the peel. Like, I love that attention to detail. It's so cool. So there you guys have it, a little preview of Free Comic Book Day. It's going to be this Saturday, May 3rd. Be sure to go to your local comic book store, support the cause. It's very, very important to celebrate Free Comic Book Day. It's one of the best performing days, I believe, for a lot of comic book stores. And a lot of times comic book stores also have sales at that same time. So even if you're not into new comic books, it's one of the best times to get vintage comic books as well. If they have some back issues, maybe they're going to do, some deals there. I'm definitely going to be going around to all the comic book shops in the Southern California area this weekend and see if I get anything for next week's video. Anyways, that's all for this video. That was me doing a little preview of the books coming out this week. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys interested in any of this stuff? What do you guys think about some of these, new first appearances? What do you guys think about the free comic book day books when they actually have their first appearances? Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. See y'all in the next video.